Hi everyone, I thought it'd be nice to take a look at the Korg Minilogue and just give you some of my impressions of it. Just going to give you an overview of what it is in case you're not familiar with it. We've got a 4-voice analog poly, so this is a fully analog synth. It does have a digital layer of control, which is how you get MIDI and patches, but the actual signal path is analog. So because this is actually 4 voices, everything you see here is multiplied by 4 inside the unit. So you have 8 VCOs in total, 4 filters, and so on. So let's get started with the VCO section. Here we have a sawtooth, and I'm going to show you just the controls. You've got pitch. And one very cool and important feature is the shape control. If you look on the oscilloscope, you'll see it morphing. It actually goes down an octave too. Now I can bring in the other oscillator, and let's just hear what this sounds like with a bit of detune. This is actually 2 sawtooths. So even in perfect pitch, they're not quite in phase with each other, and that's how you get this sort of lively moving sound. And we also have noise, which I'll come back to in a minute. Now, down here we have a few more options. Cross modulation. If I switch to the triangle waveforms, that'll give you an idea of how cross modulation sounds. If we go up a few octaves, you get a very nice bell-like sound. That's got a long release, so you can hear some note stealing there. Let's go back to our waveforms. We're in the triangle mode. This is the pure waveform. I'm going to show you the low end on that. Then you can shape that. And with our LFO, we can actually modulate the shape. Same with the square wave. And the shape on this one is, of course, PWM. Now, once we start mixing these in with the noise and modulating the shape parameter, you'll notice we get some really nice complex waveforms going. And this is especially useful for pads. So if I bring up the attack, bring down the filter a little bit. Let's use the envelope here to modulate the filter. Let's go back to just a single waveform here. Let's take this off and let's look at the ring modulation. Now, cross mod and ring mod actually affect oscillator 2, so I don't need oscillator 1 in the mixer if we just want to hear what's going on with these effects. We just want to hear oscillator 2. This one's great for dissonant tones. Very glassy. Wavetable-like, actually, especially if we bring in some shape modulation. This is one of the really great things about this particular synth. If the waveforms were just standard and didn't have the shape controls on them, it would still be a really good analog poly. But the fact that it has these shaping abilities and that you can modulate them really changes this, especially when you add in the ring mod and the cross mod, into something much more than just an analog poly. It's able to reach areas that sound very digital, all while retaining the same warmth that you expect from an analog synth. Now we can modulate the pitch of oscillator 2 with this envelope here. And we have sync as well. So you get some really great complex waveforms out of this. Now let's show you sync while we're here. You have that on all the waveforms too. And then we can of course have all of these going. And oscillator 1. So some pretty awesome gnarly sounds out of this so far. Let's get into the filter though, because the resonance on this is just beautiful. Let's modulate the shapes a little bit. And let's use a long attack and a long decay and modulate the filter. Bring in the delay. Now there's a 2-pole and a 4-pole. This is the 2-pole. And we have velocity as well. I can have it at half value where velocity is affecting the filter, or full value where it's affecting it a lot more. So a lot of awesome fun to be had with the filter. And of course, got key tracking. Again, that can be set to halfway at 50% or 100%. I'm going to take off the envelope here so we just have the clean filter. Let's take away the waveforms because we have self oscillation here. Pure sine waves. Let's give this some release. And again with the delay. Take the feedback down a little. And yes, the delay is pretty noisy. And I find the 4 poles a little cleaner. 2 poles nice for that bit of grit and distortion. 4 poles quite a lot, especially if I take the filter out. More pronounced, but in various setups you'll find that, I think anyway, the 2-pole is a bit grittier. So going to the attack and release phases of the amplitude envelope now. Just want to show you how much of a fade in you can get. Quite a long fade in and quite a long release. In my opinion, these are set up just right. I love the curves on the attack and the release. Now, because you've got 4 voices, you have 4 independent LFOs. If I take the synchronization of these LFOs off, you can get some independent modulation of each filter, so you get a lot more of a complex and interesting sound when you're playing chords. You can hear the slight separation between the filters. It sounds a little bit like maybe a phaser or valve filter, slightly. Now, speaking of the LFO, let's actually listen to a bit of pitch modulation. I just want to show you how fast this goes. So that's how fast the LFO can go. It's pretty fast. You might have noticed this. This allows us to modulate the rate with the envelope. Alternatively, we can modulate the actual intensity of the LFO. So this can act like a delay on the LFO if you want, especially for vibrato. So far so good, but there's some more interesting things we can do with this synth. So if I just bring up a standard sort of init sound patch, you'll notice this voice depth mode. Now for each of these different voice modes, this will do something different. In this mode, we're going to invert the chords. In this mode, we'll take 2 of the voices for every note and stack them on top of each other. So I now have reduced my polyphony to 2 notes, but each time I press a note, I'm activating 2 of the voices. And this depth mode will do the detune between them. You still have 2 oscillators to play with. Okay, if we go into unison, this stacks all of the VCOs on top of each other, so you've got 8 VCOs per note. And of course, all 4 filters working in tandem. So it's pretty awesome stuff there. Now, mono is a really nice way just to play the synth for basses if you don't want to like accidentally trigger 2 notes. But on top of that, you also get the sub oscillators with this voice mode depth. Chord is, as the name would suggest, you get a nice chord for each note you press. Let's go to 1 VCO here. Let's give some release. I'm going to use this opportunity to show you the actual envelope effect on the filter. Let's take this down. So we can get very snappy decay times. We can do velocity sensitivity again. we have delay mode. Delay mode's very interesting to me. If we move the voice depth, we actually get some different spacings between the notes. And what this is doing is offsetting each voice and making them act like echoes. And I do like the 3/16 mode. We have ARP. And then we have some nice variations on the ARP, including random and poly. This is maybe one of my little complaints, is I don't know if there's any way to space out the timing of these chords. But it is nice that you can play chords in the ARP mode. There's also no latch on the ARP mode, so another oddity. And we have the more standard modes. Again, I don't know of a way to increase the octave reach of the ARP either. Then we have sidechain. What this does is it should, in theory, push down these notes in volume as I play new ones. Not something I find particularly useful myself. Perhaps you could read more up into it if you're interested in that. So now we come to the step sequencer. We've got 16 steps. The interesting thing about this is you can actually input chords as well per step. You can hear that swing now. Now, notice something cool. The sequencer isn't a play mode, so we can actually change this around here, bring in some inversions, and I can take it into mono. I'll lose my chords, but I'll get the sub bass. I can even sequence chords. It sounds horrible like this because of the way I programmed it, but here's something really cool. I can keep my polyphony as long as I'm only playing 2 notes at a time, and stack these oscillators.